You do not want to miss this delicious Italian spaghetti sauce recipe. Hey you all, it is Dream from where the oak was grown. In today's video, we are going to be making and canning up a delicious Italian spaghetti sauce. It has taken me years to master my father's spaghetti sauce, but I think I have finally done it, and you won't believe what the secret ingredient is. So let's get to making this wonderful spaghetti sauce that my father created many, many years ago. Are all the tomatoes that I can get into the roasting pan. We're going to turn this on low. I'm probably going to put it on, I think, got it set to 250, and we're going to let this roast overnight and let it just cook down nice and slow. And then I've got an entire sink full of frozen tomatoes that'll probably have to go into a second one. I'd hoped that I would have enough room. And as you can see, this is a working kitchen. We've got tomatillo sauce coming up here pretty soon, but for right now we are working on tomato sauce and spaghetti sauce. After you get everything pureed, after it's roasted all down, it'll look like this. And at this point, it's time to add the rest of our ingredients. You will need 5 cleaned carrots, and we'll use the food processor, and we will chop them very fine. I'm going to use 3 cans of organic tomato paste. Normally I would use my own, but I haven't made any tomato paste just yet, so that is on the horizon. 2 whole cloves, because this is a large container. 2 whole, not cloves, I'm sorry, 2 whole bulbs with the cloves cleaned. They don't have to be chopped. I usually just toss them in whole. 1 whole onion, finely chopped. Salt and pepper to taste. And then to taste on my herbs, I use parsley, basil, and oregano. And these are dried herbs from my garden last year. All right, I'm gonna get these carrots chopped up and get them into the food processor. If you all want to peel your carrots, you are more than welcome to do so. I don't do that because the nutrients are in the skin. I just buy organic carrots. I didn't have any carrots this year in my garden. Hopefully I'm gonna have fall and winter carrots, but I'm just gonna roughly chop them and then get them into the food processor.
Mare, mamma mia, mamma di dare. Figlie mie, cutte dare, mamma mia, pensaci tu. Se tu togli lo pesciaiolo, e tu vai, e tu vieni, sempre lo pesce, ma lo tiene. Se ci picchi la fantasia, mi pisciuli e la figlia mia. La piscia fritta battala, uè compagno con la manica giaccata. Oh mamma, pesce fritta baccalà, mi voglio una yacht che mi voglio maritare. C'è la luna mezzo mare, mamma mia, mamma di dare. Figlie mie, tutte rare, mamma mia, pensaci tu. Se ti togli lo scappare, e tu vai, e tu vieni, e ma te tu martene. Se ci pigli la fantasia, mi batta di la figlia mia. Uè mamma, me voglio maritare.
So we got everything in that pot. I just wanted to clean up a little bit before I came on and talked about it. We'll leave that at 300 degrees for about 2 hours. And when it is done, in 2 hours we'll come back, we'll hit it with the immersion blender, and then that's when we will begin water bath canning them. So I'll see you back then. It's been 2 hours. Our sauce is ready for the immersion blender, so we're gonna get that done. Once we get that done, we'll start jarring it up and then get it into the canner. If you're wondering why I add sugar, it's to cut the acidity. I'm probably not going to put quite a half cup. So it was a half of a half, so it ended up being a fourth of a cup. We're not trying to make it sweet. We're just trying to cut the acidity in the tomatoes. Alright, we're going to get this jar filled up, and I'm going to show you how I do it. And I'll show you how I get the lid on, and then we'll fill the rest of them up, and then we'll put them in the canner. So, did you guess what the secret ingredient was from the beginning? If you didn't, it was the carrots. Now, not a lot of people put carrots in their sauce. They don't use it as a thickening agent, but I like my sauce thick. And as you can see, I'm stirring this now, and that's just to get any air bubbles that might be inside the jar out. But the secret ingredient was carrots. So we're gonna wipe our lid down. Alright, one of the things I want to say about water bath canning that a lot of people don't say when they're doing it. Once your water comes to a boil, I want you to turn it down, because we do not want our water at a boil when we're water bath canning. We just want it at a simmer. So if you open your lid and you look in and there's bubbles, turn it down. So I took my lid, remember I said I dip it in the water? And on top it goes. It just helps to activate, well, it sterilizes and it helps to activate that rubber ring. Then we're going to put our lid on, hand tight, just like that. We'll get the rest of these filled up, and when it's time to go in the canner, I'll show it to you. Alright, this is our last jar. We're going to put it right down the middle, and we're going to very carefully lower this in. Very carefully. Okay, as you can see, the water covers the jar. It's probably got just a little too much water. So we're going to take a little bit out. And as you can see, my water is not boiling. It is just hot and on a simmer. So we're going to cover it, and we're going to let it process for 20 minutes. And while that's going on, we'll get the rest of the jars filled up, and when they're done, we'll put the next round in. Okay, our jars are ready to come out.
And then do it.
So, sorry. So when you're doing this, please be very careful. It is very hot. Make sure you shake off all the water that you can.
Very hot.
Put that right there. We're going to use our little tongs.
We can use our tongs.
I need you to move, Joey. Okay, we're going to get our next load of spaghetti sauce in here. Okay, I'll also have some marinated cherry tomatoes that I did, and I do have a video on this, and I'll link it down in the description for you. These were actually at room temperature, so to prevent them from being a cold ingredient going into hot water, I put them in a pan of hot water and let them come up to temperature. And now we're going to put them in here, and that's going to ensure that they don't break in there. And so that's one of my tips for you. If your ingredients in your jars is cold, then put your jars in the water with cold water, and then bring the water to temperature, and once the water is at a simmer, then you begin the processing time. If your ingredients are hot, then of course make sure your water is hot. This will prevent any breaking that takes place while processing everything. Alright, and even though those cherry tomatoes are in there, typically you would process them for 10 minutes. The tomato sauce needs to process for 20 minutes, so we are going to allow them to go ahead and process for 20 minutes. So it is day 2 of canning up the spaghetti sauce, and that's just because after I got them out of the canner, I needed to allow them to cool down all the way so we can finish these final tips on canning your spaghetti sauce. So one of the things I want to show you, a lot of questions that always get asked from people who are new to canning: how do you know that your top's sealed? Well, there are 2 ways to know. The first one, there's a little button right here that you will hear actually flatten. You'll hear a pop in your house, and it is also the same sound you will hear when it unseals when it's sitting in the counter. The other thing is, as you can see, I took the ring off, and that's because you want to be able to hear that sound if that pops, because if this is on it, you may not hear it and bacteria gets in there. Though you may not see the bacteria, it might be inside of the sauce, and well, we all know what botulism is, although that is the most severe case, but there still could be bacteria in there before it even becomes that will make you sick. The other way, now everyone kind of cringes when I do this, the other way, and I'm going to keep my hand under it. Do you see that? It's not coming off. I'm holding it by that seal. So that's the other way. All right, my final tip for anybody who's new to canning, and it's something that I see skipped a lot, and that is cleaning the outside of your jars before you put them away. So now a lot of people skip that. They don't clean it, and that's why I do it. But I want to show you why you should. So this is the jar of marinated tomatoes that I went ahead and put into the water bath canner when we canned the rest of them. So this, even though it has a lot of vinegar in it, it also has some oil in it. And when you heat that up, it will, even though it's sealed, it is sealed, it will seep underneath here. So let me see if I can get the camera to pick up off my finger. I don't know if you can see the oil on my finger. So imagine that being in with the rest of the cans, being on the outside of the jar, and bacteria growing on your jar. So those are my tips and tricks, and my recipe will be down in the description for you. It's something that it took me years to master, my father's recipe, but I think I've finally gotten it pretty close. I wish I had put more garlic in this sauce. So if you like a lot of garlic in your sauce, you might add some more garlic, because that was a large roasting pan. As well, if you found some value in today's video, please be sure to give us a like and a thumbs up. It helps our channel to grow, and consider subscribing. Like I said, this is day 2 in the kitchen because we had to wait for those jars to cool off, but that means we're back in the kitchen canning even more stuff. And if you would like to see more, and because you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. Until I see you in the next video, I think it's going to be here. You all take care of yourselves, you keep your heads up, and more importantly, you keep growing. Bye-bye, y'all.